got an email from you and checked out a couple of your videos, and like what I saw. Glad to see that you reached out to me, and also you seem interested to talk about the nature of reality and all the things that need to be done from a spiritual perspective to help humanity in all the positive ways. So I'd like you to first set the tone for this interview, to explain who you are and what you experienced in your life that causes you to do the stuff that you do now. And then after that, we'll get into the questions about the nature of reality radio. So set the tone for this interview. I will not interrupt you. I don't have Alex Jones-itis. I don't interrupt my guests. So you are free to talk. I will put myself on mute.
Right on. So yeah, my name is Jeff. I hail from the West, from Idaho, actually. I grew up in the northern part of the Mormon Belt, eastern Idaho, so pretty isolated from the rest of the world. But I could tell pretty early on that I thought differently from most people. I ended up going to Catholic private school to start, and I would get in arguments with the teachers in the class, even as far back as kindergarten, because I was a curious mind, and it wasn't scratching the itch. And I noticed that people, they didn't want to talk about it, not in general. It just seems like they, bought into something and didn't really want to question it anymore because, their identity and their egos were completely bought in. But the quest kept going for me, and I noticed pretty early on in my life, in my early teens, that I had a penchant for talking about the nature of reality. It was just my favorite thing in the world. And, at that time, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. I had Coast to Coast, Art Bell. He was my savior as far as that's concerned way back then. And I was fortunate enough to find a few friends that would indulge me for long, long sessions into the night talking about the nature of reality and how everything works, all the way from, aliens to angels to God and religion and the government and conspiracies and just the whole gamut of all of the fringe thoughts that we all have had, especially on this radio. So a series of events led me down a path early on where I kept picking away, just chipping away at these questions, the meaning of reality, what we were all doing here, how does this all work, how does this all operate? And I mean, my mind would just chew away at it without really trying. It's just what I'm interested in. And through a series of pretty impactful epiphanies that happened early on in my life, from one being that, I'm actually responsible for my life right here, right now, that my choices have led up to this moment. That was a big eye-opener for me. Another one was that I needed to tell the truth. If I wanted to seek the truth, I had to express the truth. And I remember I was probably 19 years old, I came out to my parents and I told them all the partying I'd ever done and how I had skipped school and that I had no interest in getting put into a box and those sort of things. And it was pretty jarring for them, but it was absolutely necessary for me to make it to the next step in my life. It was about 20 years old when I had really the biggest, most eye-opening awakening I've ever had, quite frankly, when along the same lines of where my thought was going, picking away at trying to figure out just the mechanics behind everything. How does this all work? What does it all mean? Well, the universe showed me. And it did it in just such a way to where it was like all of my vocabulary, all the words that I'd ever used were wiped clean. And I could see the interconnectedness of the entire universe lit up in this brilliant bright light from front to back, up, down, left, right, betwixt the air itself, betwixt the molecules. I could see into the eyes of the people I was around, and I could see the light within them, and I could feel and see the light within me. And then this word just shined out in front of everything, And it was like that word became redefined in my lexicon of knowledge. And that word was love. Love meant this. And it was the closest word that I could find in our language. And I could look back at all the memories I ever had, all stringed together in a perfect harmonic resonance. I could see everything lined up perfectly. I could project into the future. At this time, we were about 2005. I knew what 2012 was going to be. I understood that. I understood the Mayan calendar. I understood what everyone was going through. I understood where we stood as humanity. I could see this like cosmic ocean of energy, and we're all a part of it. And I could see it rising, this tide rising. And it was just, I mean, absolutely everything to me. I couldn't look at the world the same way. And I was previously quite nihilistic, actually, quite a punk. I believed in chaos. After that, I could see why chaos existed. Chaos made sense to me, if that makes sense. Everything just made perfect sense. But we're talking 18, 19 years ago. I had a long ways to go yet. I still had a lot of my own darkness to get through, a lot of my own fears to face. But I knew from that point on that I was meant for something. It's more than me just being curious about the nature of reality. I have something to offer. I have something to give. And for the next following years, it was really exciting for me. I wanted to tell everyone, and I wanted to share it with everybody, like, oh my gosh, you guys, you got to know. And I realized pretty quickly that you just can't do that everybody's on their own path and they're going to find out in their own way. I explored so many different things. I thought I was going to be a shaman. I thought I was going to be a spirit healer. I thought I was going to be some kind of an energy reader that would help assist people into the next level of humanity or human consciousness. In some way, some form, but I couldn't quite find it. And I tried a lot of things. I got heavy into meditation. I learned how to lucid dream, astral project, remote viewing. I got into Reiki, became a Reiki master. I took a modality called theta healing, which is prevalent out here in the West. It's kind of like a clairvoyance belief work type of modality. That unlocked a lot of abilities for me. I could then understand and see color, energy color. More than that, energy shape. I could kind of start looking under the veil more at will. And all of it was really cool and really exciting. And I loved the community and everyone I had talked to, but it just wasn't quite what I was looking for. It was, like when it came to spiritual healing, I love to do it for people, and I know it was helping a lot of people, but in my eyes, it was like, no, they still require me. They still rely on me to find, what they're looking for, to be healed in that sort of sense. I want to be able to offer it to people in a different way. I want to empower people. And this is, what came to mind. So, I mean, I had every kind of experience you could imagine as far as mystical, metaphysical, seeing UFOs, visiting aliens, seeing angels come right into the room, just the whole gamut. Even up to about 5 years ago, I had a full pop Kundalini awakening while I was at working in a restaurant. That was pretty wild. But just a series of life experiences that continuously validated what I had found to be true. And ever since then, my curiosity has nothing but grown, and I continue to question it even to this day, only to find further and further points validating where I'm going and confirming, this truth that I had found. But I was still trying to figure it out, and I still had a regular job. I was working in restaurants for a great deal of time. And, I used to be pretty introverted back in the day because I was so outside the general community that I was surrounded by a lot of Christians, a lot of Mormons who were kind of nervous to ask these kind of questions. So I had to find really special people that were willing to talk to me. But because of that, I was generally socially awkward and outcasted. But once I got into the restaurant and I worked through all the positions there, ended up managing a restaurant for quite some time, and then later on became a salesman, I kind of opened up socially and experienced that whole evolution. But now I'm to the point, and as I mentioned in the email, well, I quit my job a year ago because I finally just threw in the towel and said, I can't sit here and try and fit in anymore. The last job I had was sales. I learned I could sell. I learned, I was good at that, and I understood communication. I understood human nature and psychology on a very intuitive level. But I don't want to sell something for somebody else. I have to believe in it. It has to be from the heart for me to even want to go into that, even though the money was good. Fortunately, I made enough money on that last job to where I was able to take a break and start writing and drawing and discussing, formulating a way to get this off the ground, to find my way into this conversation. And so, as it would turn out, Andrew, just talking to you right now is like it's like Christmas for me. It's like I'm opening up a gift, my dream, as a matter of fact. I stumbled into your channel years ago, 6-7 years ago, and just by the thumbnail and the title alone, I'm like, bang, subscribe. This is me. So, as it would turn out, as I started writing and dedicating my full time into it, thinking about this message that I have to bring to the world in a professional sense, treating it as such, doing the 9 to 5, but doing it on how am I going to flesh out this message for the world to see? Well, one really great epiphany I had, thanks to my wife, Ashley, who again was another huge validation that I was on that path, because I met someone who was on the same page as I was and accepted me for who I was. I was trying to get another job there for a while and doing some interviews, pretty much had one in the bag, but I didn't feel right about it. It's like, well, I'm going from selling home improvement to selling printers. It's like, what? I just trade one evil for the other. And Ashley's like, honey, you just want to sell people themselves. That was a light bulb for me. I want to sell people themselves. So the first thing I did is I kind of dove into a dictionary, as a matter of fact. I had to understand what these words meant, what value meant, what worth meant, how do we determine equity and all that. And I started to discover a lot of just hidden meaning within our language. And a lot of that went into the work. But to kind of bring it all into a point, because I do have a point with all this, is that, yeah, I know that at the core of the universe, everything is truly unconditional love, unconditional, infinite love. And I know you're no stranger to that, as well as many of the guests that you have. People discover this. This isn't any kind of secret. But what I've discovered in my, years of meditation, thousands and thousands of hours of meditating, going within, and then just writing and writing and writing and doing art and just fleshing all this out, is that, I've found a point to all of this. And it was quite elusive for the longest time because it was right under my nose. And I've actually started making videos on my channel about this, and I'm not the first one to say it either, but it's actually right now, right here, right now, is the actual point. I'm actually calling right now the center of the universe. This is all that matters. And when I say matters, I mean it's all that's materializing. And it's materializing because you and I are conscious and we are taking part in co-creating the event to occur in the first place. And it's all we ever experience is right here, right now. Everything else from the vantage of right here, right now exists in our minds. That being the other world, other people, all the other things going on. That can only exist right now inside a mental construct that we carry with us and is kind of acts as an overlay over the direct experience. So we have basically two forms of experiencing right now. We have the direct experience, the heart-to-heart visceral sensation of everything happening as it's happening. You hear the snap of my fingers. That's The vibration being translated by your brain is all happening within a split instant right now. That's the direct experience. And then you have the mental interpretation or the mental experience, which happens simultaneously with the direct experience. But that's actually all anyone is ever experiencing. Another way of putting it, or as I should say, the way that I kind of funneled it into, or kind of distilled this information, a big awakening for me is that everything is the same thing, ultimately. Another way of putting that is that your life is you, that everything that you experience is put there for you, that all those challenges are for you and nobody else. And the reason why people get bogged down and can't see this is because ultimately their beliefs, their conditioning, the things they were taught, their indoctrination has convinced them otherwise, or made them believe that they're somehow separate from the world around them, or they're somehow victims in their world. And they don't see, because of those beliefs, that actually what's going on is that there's this, you could almost call it like a cauldron of divine energy called right now, right here before us. And that's the generation, that's the genesis, the origin of the universe is right here, right in front of us as we're experiencing it. And all your beliefs and all your thoughts and all your words and the symbols that you use to interpret your reality are being cast into this magical pool of right now, and it's instantaneously being received by the universe and manifest. Even if you can't see it physically yet, it now exists. Every thought you have, every word that you speak has with it its own universe, its own signature or frequency that exists within the universe, but it all exists right here, right now. It's just because we're physical, living a human life, we experience, a timeline, a continuity to the whole thing because we wanted to ultimately. But what I've determined is, and why I just appreciate a guy like you, Andrew, and what you're doing with this radio show is because it's what I want to do. I want to enter the conversation. I feel like I have a point to make, and I feel like I could help a lot of people connect a lot of dots in understanding their own path and finding their own harmony, because I've recognized that when I stepped into my own harmony and truth, that the universe followed suit. And what more validation or confirmation do I need than the universe itself actually completely giving me the whole message? I mean, on the truck passing by and the light changing at the right time, or like say the fog lifts right as the song that I'm listening to on random comes, here comes the sun, and then the cloud lifts and the sun comes out. Like instantaneously, it's like I am in direct communication with the universe at all times. And as far as I'm concerned, you listening to me right now, the person behind you changing the pillow, everything that is happening right now is supposed to be happening, and it's happening perfectly, without question, without failure. And that is the universe manifesting itself right here, right now. And it's divine. It's lovely. It's beautiful. And I've been talking for a while. I want to hear what you're thinking.
Yes, I see that you noticed I have a housemaid. Known her since I was one measly month old, and when my brothers and I outgrew the need for a babysitter, we decided to let her stick around as a housemaid.
That's sweet of
so
you.
much
That's
to
sweet
the family, and she's like a second mother to me, and I always do my best in my house to make the job easier for her, cleaning up so she doesn't have to do all the work. But she likes a little job security. Nothing wrong there. If I maybe a few dirty dishes for her to clean, it's not really a big deal. But speaking of dirty dishes, well, you talk about how to cultivate inner peace, among other things, and your power and all that. Maybe you can help a guy like me out right now. I got a dream come true job in the form of a job that nobody wants, but it's a job that everybody should probably want to have, which is washing dishes at Whole Foods. And washing dishes is one of the best things for you from a active meditation practice. That's not me talking. That's Palladian contactee Barbara Marciniak talking.
I
She
know.
said
Yes,
that,
yes. Earth and or yeah,
yeah,
I've read. Yes.
yes, she said that her Palladian guides told her when she asked them, what can I do to enhance my spiritual awakening? One of the first things they told her was, ditch your dishwasher, wash your dishes by hand. That's gonna, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if that's the case, then I should, it's a blessing that I got a job as a dishwasher. And also I need to find the Buddhist in me, because I've been told I've been a man of extremes throughout most of my life. And I need to find the middle ground, and that's a good way to do it. But unfortunately, in recent times, I've kind of I've been given almost every reason to worry that I'm literally going to get fired for putting in my best effort, which is about as big a travesty as Henry Kissinger winning the Nobel Prize. Um, and it's sad that I'm like being pressured. I've been put under tremendous pressure to finish all my dishes at night at 10:30 every night, when I know from experience that I don't have any control on any given night over how many dishes I'm going to get bombarded with. It's not constant. It's not there. It doesn't. It varies. I've tried to explain that, but it seems like everybody at my job is trying to tell me it's all in your head. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Okay, easier said than done.
Of course.
I mean, is it possible? One person can't change the world. It can't be done. I can try to envision myself coming into a clean dish room, but at the same time, I don't have control over other people's free will. So if a lot of people on any given day want to go shopping, which is going to cause a lot of dishes to manifest, in the end, as one person, can't impose my free will upon other people to prevent them from doing their shopping, to prevent me from getting dishes. What's interesting, though, is there's this other guy in my job who has no choice but to leave at 10:30 on weekends. And it seems like he's always able to get his dishes done at 10:30, even though he doesn't really change his technique any more than I do. Um, it's almost as if his guardian angels and spirit guides are doing what they can to make sure that he can get out on time to get the ride that he needs to catch to be able to get home at 10:30. With me, I've always said it's not a big deal, because I have always been willing to burn the midnight oil and stay late to clean those dishes. But unfortunately, we can't do that anymore because they're not allowing for overtime. So ever since I've been forced to leave dishes in the sink soaking overnight, they're criticizing me for that and giving me an earful about how it's not how I should be able to get my dishes done at 10:30. But I'm telling them, no, I can't. And I'm not saying I can't because I don't think I can. I know I can't because I'm not an 8-armed octopus, and I don't have the time, and I can't manipulate the time-space continuum in the way to overpower what other people want to do their shopping to prevent the dishes from being bombarded with me. So, but yet I don't know what to do at this point. I've kept praying to my guardian angels and spirit guides, please let this work out. But in the back of my mind, how can I not help but worry that I'm literally going to get fired for putting in my best effort, because there's nothing better I can do to change the way I'm washing my dishes. So you help people cultivate inner peace. Maybe you can help someone like me out with my situation right now,
Right
and
on.
yeah, and give me some pointers on how I can best cope with a situation like this, and anybody else who may be in a situation like me.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can actually branch off this in a lot of different ways. So first off, as you mentioned that, you heard from Barbara to do dishes. Like that was the words of wisdom that's something you need to do. And when I hear that you stop using the dishwasher, start doing it by hand, what that means is that it becomes a much more involved activity. And it's, I've heard it referred to as like piecework. It's doing a seemingly menial, mindless task, but putting your all into it, feeling each dish, making sure all the grime is off that plate, and then moving on to the next one, feeling each one out, getting that tactile, visceral experience of the present moment. A lot of the things that you bring up, things like your worries, worrying about what other people think, worrying about other people trying to manipulate you on your job, again, all of that stems from beliefs about how other people operate, beliefs about how you're perceived by your coworkers and the world at large. And all of that kind of fits into a package that you could refer to as your model of reality or your identity. And there's nothing wrong in that, but it does cause you a lot of unnecessary suffering leading up to the fact, especially over things that you can't control, like the free will of others. Now, in recognizing that you can only do the best that you can do, I'm sure you're familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements. If you've heard of it, the Four Agreements is really kind of chimes to my mind right now, if I can remember them all right away. One is to not take anything personally, to recognize that others are living out their own personal dream, if you will. And even if it seems like, even if they call out your name and point at you and cause you dismay by doing that, it's actually not personal. On a deep level, what they're doing is they are extending out to a reflection of themselves that they see in you. The next is to speak impeccably, and to always speak your words, speak your truth. That way, of course, you don't have to worry about sending out mixed signals to the universe. You'll always get a clear return as far as that's concerned. And then the next one being, let's see, what is it? Don't take anything personally, speak impeccably, always do your best. And, as far as that's concerned, you really only can do your best. And if you're living up to your word, doing your best, and then the fourth one is don't make assumptions. And a lot of that comes with those beliefs, because a lot of what you think about with other people, even if what they're telling you is, you're not doing a good enough job, yada, 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 as you experience it when you're by yourself on your own, experiencing this moment right now, it only exists as a projection of them in your mind. It's not really them. It's a system of beliefs and ideas and assumptions about what they think. But on another level, if it does come to that, and they can see that you're a good worker, or they can't appreciate it because all they see is the bad in you or other employees, and they have these preloaded associations and beliefs about who you are or the type of person you are, that all they can do is see failure as far as that's concerned, then whatever, screw them, go get a different job, go do something else. It was meant to be, as far as that's concerned. What's important to recognize when kind of coming into the now and really fully immersing yourself into this present moment is to recognize that everything is okay, that there's really nothing for you to worry about, even if it is the possibility of getting fired, because some way, somehow, you're gonna wake up the next morning, you're gonna find a way, you're gonna figure something out. And oftentimes all we really have to do is just get out of our own way, and we'll end up stumbling upon exactly what we were looking for. And you can sit here and visualize an experience that pans out, but you'll send in discordant energy when you also worry about it. So on the one hand, you can visualize everything working out in your favor, but on the other hand, you're still worried and concerned about what other people are going to think of you, how other people talk to you. And essentially what you're worrying about is something that doesn't matter. Now, whether or not it matters is completely determined by how much meaning and significance you place on that. But what I'm saying is actually all that matters, like is coming into material form, is right here, right now. And that's the only thing you truly have power over. And when it comes to doing dishes, that means it's that dish. That dish and how clean that is completely within your, God-given, grand, infinite, universal, creative energy power right here, right now. And, if your mind is stretched out to all these areas of thought that aren't really mattering, then you're not giving your full energy and power and attention to what's going on right in front of you. Even if it's seemingly mundane, use your imagination, play with it more, enjoy it more, open up to it more. You could wipe that plate and imagine that you're cleaning the ocean while you're doing it. Or you could come in and clean these forks and see the reflection of yourself and all your ancestors in the fork, or something like that. You can have more fun with right here, right now, and to truly recognize what's all going on right now. It's completely unfathomable. I mean, not only all the subatomic levels, but all the non-physical levels that you can't even perceive with your physical eyes. There's so much going on right now that it's this dynamic, unfolding, blossoming reality, and it's just for you. And you are on the right path. You must be, because you're talking to me. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, talking to you, seeing you in your room. This is, and you got to remind yourself of that. You got to remind yourself that, everything's okay, that people are living out their own realities, living out their own life. It doesn't invalidate them. It doesn't invalidate your connection with them. It's just helpful in recognizing and remembering that there's a lot that you could be thinking about right now, and there's a lot you could be worrying about and stewing over and dreading, or whatever it is. But ultimately, that's just you bringing that into the right now. And because of that, it's robbing your attention of other things that are happening right now too, and who knows what you do. Maybe you like to listen to music while you do the dishes, or you could kick back and listen to the clang of dishes or other workers in the area. There's just a lot going on to occupy your attention than that what you're worried about. And it can be definitely tricky, especially when you've been doing it for so long. It's just a worked in habit. But that's where, setting up little cues for yourself, just maybe the sound of a dish hitting a plate or something like that, bring you back to being like, oh yeah, it's just everything right here happening in front of me is all that's really going on. That's what's really happening. Worrying about other things is dispersing that energy. It's relinquishing your power and your energy. When you think that you're in a position because so-and-so is in power, or some shadow government is pulling strings behind the veil, we can think about that and we can talk about all that. But as far as I'm concerned, what you're doing is distributing your power and giving it off to somebody else that has no business having it anyway. And the true ultimate conspiracy, when it comes down to it, is to convince people that they don't have power, convince people that they are not co-creators, that they're not playing a vital role in their life and the universe and humanity in living out their lives. Specifically, doesn't matter who you are, any background, any race, gender, identity, whatever you want to be, you matter, you're important. And where you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. And what's unfolding right before you is actually teaching you something. And it's all ultimately teaching you that everything is divinely connected on unconditional love. Does that help? I don't know. I kind of went off for a while.
Oh, sure. Any advice can be of some help. And I appreciate you doing what you can to try to make me feel better about current situation. I'm going to work through it. I'm sure it'll be well. And seriously, I don't want to stop working as a dishwasher. It's, like I said, probably the best thing that could happen to me. And Whole Foods has been the only place I've been buying food from for years. So I'd be able to work there to get a discount. That's a perfect opportunity. And when it comes to food, I'm like the human version of Garfield the cat. So it's something.
Fan of lasagna, are you?
Yeah, that and almost all other food.
Right.
Yeah, so I love to eat, and it's great to work at the place that I buy food from. So I hope that sticks around. Now, I see you have a video. I didn't check this out, but a rant on the meaning of life. Actually, before we do that, I guess at this point, any listeners who want to listen to the rest of this interview, please subscribe on Patreon. Nothing wrong with people asking to generate a little income for the work that they do, and that includes me as well. So at this point onward, listeners, to listen to the rest of this interview, please subscribe on Patreon to listen to the little meaning of life thing here and anything else that we talk about for the last 20 minutes or so.